So here we have 6 terminals running. On the left hand side we'll be running the zkLND nodes, and on the right hand side we'll be running the commands to interact with them. On the top row we have Alice, who will be the merchant, and underneath we'll have 2 customers, Bob and Charlie. We already have the commands to start up the nodes on the left hand side, so the first thing we're going to do is hit enter and we can start them running. And on the right hand side we're going to enter the password so we can interact with it. And we'll do the same for Bob and Charlie. Now that the nodes are up and running, we can create a zk channel between the customers and the merchant, but in order to do so we'll need to get the merchant's node ID and IP address. So we can find the node ID by running the getinfo command, and it'll be listed under the identity pub key. So I'll just maximize this window so we can scroll up and find it. So here it's listed, and now we'll copy this value and use it when we create our request on the customer side. The command that the customer enters is open zkChannel, and the first arguments that we put in will be the node ID and the IP address, and here we're just using the local host. And the next argument will be the merge pub key, which is used in the multi-sig that goes on chain, and we put this as an argument so that the customer can create the initial funding transaction. So to get the merge pub key, we'll go back to the merchant's terminal and use the zkInfo command, and now we can copy and paste this value into the customer's request. The next argument will be the customer's initial balance, and here we'll just put in 500,000 satoshis. And the last argument is just the channel name, and this is basically an alias that we'll use when interacting with the channel. So for this we'll just put Bob's channel. So now we hit enter and we can see the nodes communicate with each other, and now they're both waiting for the funding transaction to be confirmed on chain. Since we're running this on Symnet, on another terminal I'll generate 3 blocks, and we should see that both nodes receive confirmation of the funding transaction. And we can see from the customer's node that the channel setup was successful since they received the initial pay token, which will allow them to make unlinkable payments in the future. Something else worth noting is that as soon as the channel is established, the customer will disconnect from the merchant and randomize its node ID so that all future communication will be independent of establishing the channel. The customer can view the channel by using the zkChannel balance command, and this will show a list of all the channels that it has open. So right now we just have one channel, and we can see the escrow ID and the balances. So for the remote balance, which is the merchant's balance, there's a minimum value that will be allocated to the merchant, and this is so that in the case of the merchant doing a unilateral close, they'll be able to fund their closed transaction. On the merchant side, we can view the channels that we have open by using the list zkChannels command. So right now we have just one channel open, and we can see that the escrow transaction ID is the same as what shows up on the customer side. Now that we've gone through how to set up a zk channel for Bob's node, we'll do the same for Charlie's node. We'll fast forward through the steps since they're exactly the same as before. And now if we use the list zkChannels command on the merchant's node and expand the terminal, we can see that there are 2 channels and their escrow transaction IDs correspond to each of the customer's channels. That's it for this video, and in the next one we'll do a demonstration of how to make payments.